Once upon a time, in the big city, there was an amazing building, a very large, huge building, very dark building, and it was very old. It had been made by people a long time ago, and it was very impressive. And in front of this very large, impressive building was a very large, impressive, it was like a statue, a sculpture, a great big pointy thing made of stone that went right up into the sky. Now, people would love to come and visit the building and the amazing sculpture, but the main reason that people went there was because the people from all around the city would set up tables and they would bring things that they wanted to sell, and they would sell these amazing things. There was one man who made amazing coats from bits of material, so many different colours, and he would put them all out on this table and people could come and buy them if they wanted to. There was another lady who grew lots of apples from trees in her garden, and she would pick all the apples, put them into boxes, and people could come and buy them. Some other people were selling food, sandwiches they had made, and all sorts of amazing things made of glass, glasses and decorations. Oh, so many things. But one day, someone came to open up a table and put some things that she had for sale, and everyone was amazed. Because this person was an explorer. She was an amazing woman who travelled around the world, and sometimes she even went to the forest of the birds. Now, at the forest of the birds, there are so many birds, as you might imagine. So many different types of birds. Big birds, small birds, orange birds, blue birds, rainbow-coloured birds. The most wonderful birds. And sometimes their feathers would come loose and fall out of the trees and land on the ground. And the explorer, she would go around collecting these amazing feathers, so many colours, such different sizes and shapes, and she brought them all back. And this is what she had on her table of things that she wanted to sell. There were some blue feathers over here, tiny little red feathers that were tickly over there, amazing multicoloured feathers that were really long. Some feathers had amazing patterns on them. These ones looked like they had sort of the shape of an eye at the top, amazing, like peacock feathers. Oh, so many feathers. And people would come and they would be amazed and they would want to buy some feathers. They might buy a feather to put in their hat or their clothes or their hair. Or they might just buy a feather to hold and be a beautiful, beautiful thing to walk around with. They might buy a feather to have at home to be an ornament so they could look at it whenever they wanted. So many different reasons. Now, in the city, there lived a man who was a writer. He wrote books. He was always thinking of ideas. He had written books about castles before and people trying to run up and down stairs of castles. And he had written other stories as well, stories that happened under the water, where there was great big sea creatures, very exciting, and people on boats going over them. Ah, amazing ideas. But he had a problem. He was having real difficulty coming up with any more ideas for stories. He would sit for ages at home with his pen, thinking about all the things that had happened in his life and what would make a good story. He was in a bit of a pickle. But one day he went to the market stall where everyone was selling things outside the amazing building, and he saw the coats. Oh, lovely coats. Maybe I should get a coat. It is getting a bit colder, he was thinking to himself. He saw some apples and he bought an apple and he ate it as he went around the stalls. He saw lots of fun things, but then he stopped in his tracks because he saw the explorer's table, and on the explorer's table were all the amazing feathers, and they really caught his imagination. Suddenly, he was thinking of animals covered in brightly coloured feathers, going on adventures, climbing up trees, swinging through the trees, roaring and looking for other animals to play with. Oh, he was suddenly having all these amazing ideas for stories. He couldn't wait to get home to write them. So he bought a feather or two feathers, and he raced home and he started writing stories all about wonderful magical creatures with feathers, colourful feathers. Well, he wrote a whole book full of stories of these animals, and when it was finished, he printed it lots of times, so he had lots of books, and he went to the market stall outside the amazing building. He put them on a table and he sold them. Now, one person didn't come and buy books from the writer. 2 people didn't come and buy books from the writer, or 3 or 4. In fact, there were hundreds of people. Word got about these amazing stories about these animals. And people wanted to buy the books, and people wanted to buy the feathers. And the table with all the feathers was right next to his table with the books. Oh, and they were selling lots of things, and they became really good friends because they would talk to each other. Such good friends, in fact, that the explorer and the writer decided to go on adventures together. That's right, the writer joined in on the explorer's next exploration. She went all the way to the plains of Africa where great animals roamed. And as they were exploring, the writer would write stories about what they found. And they became the best of friends and had so many adventures together, writing more and more wonderful stories. The end.